Hey everyone, welcome back to the Wirex Crypto Podcast. Today we're diving into one of the biggest challenges in the crypto world, trust. With so much hype, confusion, and skepticism surrounding crypto, how can the industry build real trust with users and the public? To help us unpack this, we've got Soledad Contreras, Head of Partnerships at CoinDesk, here with us today. Soledad has been in the thick of it all, helping to shape partnerships and drive crypto adoption. Sol, thanks so much for being here today. We're excited to hear your thoughts on how crypto can gain more trust.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I am very, very excited to join the conversation and to try and unpack one of the, as you said, one of the most known problems that the crypto has, which is reputation and trust.
Yeah, trust is such a huge thing. But before we dive in, can you share a bit about your professional background and what brought you into the crypto space?
Yes, of course. I was born in Buenos Aires, which makes me Argentinian. We can talk a little bit later about why crypto has been so important in emerging markets like Argentina. But I left 20 years ago. I moved to the UK and I always worked in the media space. I spent quite a few years working in financial media for a company that used to organize conferences and events with banks and traditional financial service providers. It was great fun until, I was up for a new challenge, and CoinDesk was looking to expand their team. They wanted to service their clients in other regions, not just the US. Everything was done from New York at the time. This is 2020. And, I think that everyone took stock in 2020 and started to think, okay, maybe this is time to change, do something different. And digital finance seems to be a nice career progression for me. Obviously, I knew very little about crypto at the time, but I started getting into the rabbit hole, as people say. And I don't think I will never look back. I joined CoinDesk in 2021. CoinDesk, for those who are not familiar with the company, we are a news service provider. So we have the storefront for CoinDesk is our website, coindesk.com. We produce newsletters and webinars, everything that you would expect from a media group. And we are also the team behind Consensus, which is a crypto and blockchain conference. And we also have an indices calculation service as well, which is CoinDesk Indices. So we touch all different points of the crypto ecosystem. And I have been with them for nearly 4 years. So I consider myself an industry veteran now, saying that, crypto is quite young. And as I said before, I don't think I will ever look back.
It's like you went out to get some Bitcoin and never looked back. And I just love, I really love the story, like you coming into this crypto space, not knowing, too much about it. And here you are, working with CoinDesk and, in a position where you're advising us now on how, on trust and reputation, right, of crypto.
Yes, and I think it also comes down to the fact that I have been trying to solve problems with different brands. Brands always come to us to try and, enhance their presence, but also try to connect with the users. And trust is obviously a huge priority for them. How do you build trust? How you cut through the noise when generally crypto doesn't have a very good public reputation. So I think by talking to them, I've also learned a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And so what is the biggest myth about crypto that you think people believe when they first hear about it?
I think if you ask someone who is not familiar with the crypto and blockchain ecosystem, I think that the first thing that will come to mind is that crypto is a scam. Crypto is used by criminals to do money laundering, to finance illicit activity. And actually, that is not true. I feel the media has an important role to play on that. I think, unfortunately, when you Google anything related to crypto, the first thing that you will probably see is going to be negative. And I think there is still a lot of education to be done in the space, not just on the users, but I think it should also start with the media ecosystem. I think many people who are responsible for informing and educating not necessarily understand the concept of crypto very well, so they are scared and therefore they prefer not to report on it. And in that sense, there is also a long way to go still, I feel, between companies and the media. And I feel that the companies that are in the space should also try to foster those relationships with media groups, try to become trusted sources. It's not uncommon that certain journalists would prefer not to touch crypto, again, because either they don't understand it or that they feel that they are going to be covering negative news, and it's not always the case. Much on the contrary. So I think it's changing that perception that crypto is just used for illicit activities, or that it's just a scam that people lose all their money.
I almost feel like, in order to kind of switch that narrative within the media on crypto is maybe, having ordinary people thriving using crypto, right? And have like these real use cases that people can relate to. I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking on top of my head as you were mentioning that. But so if you were launching a crypto project today, what would be your top priority to build trust with users?
I think, there isn't a shortage of projects out there. I think in my journey with CoinDesk and crypto in general, I have met lots of founders that are building on different protocols. I very much enjoy meeting founders. I feel like they are very, very intelligent people, that they are able to code in a different language and come up with these amazing ideas and incredible products. Now, I think something that the sector needs to work on a lot is the user experience. And I think we're getting better, but we are a long way. In order to build trust, your application needs to be easy to use, needs to feel native for people who are already in crypto, but does not need to feel scary for people who are not in crypto, which is typically a big barrier when you start looking at all these keys and seed phrases that you need to store in safe places and all that. Many people feel quite scared and they don't want to link their sort of fiat currency into. We're talking about the financial side of crypto, which obviously crypto has many other uses, but let's focus on the financial side, which is what people feel can damage the saving. So I think in terms of building trust, a simple user experience would probably be something I would try to be focused on. And then, as you were saying earlier, perhaps try to look for those success case studies, people who have used the product successfully, easily. I don't think that there is, as I was saying before, a shortage of projects out there and applications to use. I think that we are still a long way from adoption. We don't have enough users for all the crypto apps which are out there. They will continue to grow, but we need things to grow at a faster pace, I feel.
Yeah, because we keep saying that, we're still early, right? But I think, yeah, you're right. We will need more adoption in order to have a thriving ecosystem, or at least just to have more ways to navigate it, right? What lessons can the crypto world learn from banks or big tech companies when it comes to building trust?
Well, I think we've all seen the good and bad of traditional finance. I think people are a lot more worried about crypto because in a way you cannot see it. It's like this magic internet money that people cannot see. You can count your dollars or your pounds or your euros, but how do you count your Bitcoin? It's just on a wallet somewhere. But I think, first of all, and this is something that obviously the regulator is very much focused on, protecting the investor. I think that we have to protect the end user, the institutional user as well, but you feel that institutional users would have a lot more muscle or much stronger compliance audits in order to adopt a certain investment. However, when it comes to retail users, people are probably a lot less educated, and perhaps a friend of a friend made a fortune on Dodge or Shiba or whichever meme coin is in fashion at the moment. So I think it's about learning what went wrong in traditional finance, which essentially is greed many times, and try to protect the investors, mostly on the regulatory side, on the promotion side as well. I think the UK has a very strict rule when it comes to promoting crypto to retail users, which I think I am not going to give an opinion on whether the rule is good or bad, but I think at least it shows that the government wants to make sure that whoever is either trading, buying, or getting into crypto, that they are protected and that advertising is not misleading, which I think applies as well for traditional financial products.
I think, to have those kind of guardrails is good too, right? Because it does, at least give out a bit of an awareness to people, like, go in with both eyes open, right? And not just take anyone's word, and just to make sure that you are not taking any risk, right? So I think that's a pretty good thing, for them to kind of like have those guardrails. Do you think credit stress?
Sorry, before we move on to the next one, you've mentioned something about risk, and crypto is risky. It will always be volatile. There are certain products that are less risky and have more of a transactional use, like stable coins, for example, which are pegged to a fiat currency. Well, I mean, we can dive deeper into that. It can be pegged to anything, but typically they would be pegged to a strong fiat currency, and they are mainly used as a means of payment. So you could argue that is less of a risky product. It's more the utility that it has. But crypto is risky. It is volatile. Prices change depending on supply and demand. And I think as long as the user knows that when they are investing in a token or in a product, the thing is when we compare crypto with traditional finance, we are evolving at a pace in which we are creating lots of derivatives products that come from crypto, which are more complex. And we all know what happened with the global financial crisis and the subprime crisis. When products get a bit more complicated, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't touch them, but I think you need to understand what you're buying or where you're investing your money. So it's not like you won't be taking any risk, but you need to be comfortable with the risk that you're taking. Not different from when you're investing in stocks, for example.
Right. And so do you think crypto's trust issue is more about the technology itself, or is it really about how people are using it?
I think the technology itself, I mean, blockchain is transparent. So it's not about the technology itself, and except for the fact that it might be a little bit more complex to understand. I think it's an issue of reputation. I think there's also an issue of lack of regulation. So people are scared to get into an asset class which is not regulated, and this is the same for institutional clients or retail clients. I think when you don't have a clear regulatory framework, you're taking a higher risk. Some people might be comfortable with it, some people might not. So understand your risk profile yet, and then decide whether you want to dive in. So I don't think that the trust is related to technology. I think that the trust is more related to everything that has, or the lack of trust, everything that has gone wrong gets a hell lot of publicity, and things that are positive in the crypto sector don't get enough publicity. So to give you an example, lots of the layer 1 protocols are doing a lot of work in emerging markets, for example, where people cannot access cash or cannot get paid. Say one in particular is working in Africa to create a wallet so that creators can receive payment from the UK or the US or different markets. When they are creating content, they cannot get paid in fiat currency. Imagine getting money through to Africa or Latin America, or you can do it, but it is so expensive that the end user gets a fraction. And crypto solves that problem because it's end-to-end from one user to the other, decentralized, no intermediates, and everyone has a mobile phone. So that is clearly a problem solved. Same for remittances, same for when you're trying to make a quick payment to someone. So I think those things are good. There is a speculative end to it as well, but in many, and try to work back to emerging markets again, but in many countries when people don't trust their monetary authority because of inflation, because of corruption, you name it, they find a safe haven on crypto, whether they are stable coins or just tokens like Bitcoin or Ethereum. They feel that that's a lot safer than their own currency because they use it as a way of protecting themselves from inflation. So again, the risk appetite might be very different if you speak to someone who knows how much a dollar is worth and will be worth, and someone who is in Africa or Latin America or wherever, which has seen their currency plummet in a very short period of time. And they think that, oh, hang on, actually, this asset has a much more stable value than my own currency.
Yeah, I suppose, it's really about getting yourself into it, right? Like to experience it, to see how it works. Because that was how I was brought into crypto. But some people argue that may trust like traditional finance. Do you think that's the right direction, or does it go against what crypto stands for?
Yes, I think there has to be a middle ground. Crypto will always be decentralized, and there will always be anonymous users that don't want to share details. And I also think that because it is a new sector and we are writing a playbook, that regulation that is supposed to come to protect investors will always come later than the actual technology. I think that inevitably product developers will innovate a lot faster than the regulatory framework that is supposed to regulate them. So you have a problem there. New products coming to the market that they are allowed in certain jurisdictions and not allowed in others. So you don't have the actual regulatory framework that protects the users. And in terms of decentralization, which is what crypto stands for, again, I think that this communication between the industry and the regulator needs to continue so that we can find a common ground. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there are lots of initiatives in most countries where crypto is growing to try and foster the dialogue. And I think that's crucial because these are sectors that will continue to grow. I think that by now we know that digital assets have hit a market cap which is not going to go away. It will continue to be volatile, yes, but it's not going to disappear. I think that dialogue has to continue with a focus on educating and protecting the user, but also allowing companies to thrive. Because at the end of the day, if they cannot find a home in a certain jurisdiction, they'll just take their stuff and go elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you're so right. The conversation needs to continue, and also the education, and also, as we know, when this space moves, it moves quite fast. So that education as well needs to be very adaptable, right, to all the evolving things that are happening, which can sometimes be a little bit hard to keep up. What practical tips would you give to our listeners to help them feel safer and more confident when engaging with crypto?
I would recommend them, first of all, to try and read and educate themselves. There is a lot of material out there, which it's free. Most of the exchanges and the layer ones, I think everyone is making a very strong effort on trying to educate users. So first of all, try to understand which type of investing you are getting into. Try to also come up with your own risk profile, measure your appetite, and that will tell you, okay, do I start buying a meme coin, or do I buy one of the top coins, or do I go and try to put some money on altcoins in the hope that they will come up? Because the thing is, at the moment, and I know this content will stay, but at the moment we are in a bull market where prices are going up quickly. Bitcoin is driving other altcoins as well to go up. So everyone is, oh my God, I don't want to miss out. But I think Lucy, don't put your life saving into it. Start small and see how you feel about trading, and then just I think that slowly you will realize whether this is for you or not, whether you see it as a store of value, whether you see it as an investment, or whether you see it as I would say, more of a transactional asset, something that you can use to send money to your nieces and nephews, or you can also start by gaming. Gaming is a way in which many people get into crypto. There are lots of gamified trading experiences out there. And gaming is also the entry point into crypto for many people. So I think we also need to understand that it's not just the financial aspect that could be an entry point for crypto. Some people get into it through games. They get into it through loyalty by collecting NFTs or stamps. So I think, don't do anything that you are not comfortable with. And then once you start, consider how you want to store your crypto. Do you want to store it in self-custody? You want to have a hard wallet, or do you want to keep it an exchange? If you are keeping it to an exchange, make sure that you know who's doing the custody. So all those questions are things that you need to ask yourself before you start, and then try to see which type of profile you are.
Yeah, that's really interesting and so insightful. And if a skeptical friend or family member asked you why they should trust crypto, what would you tell them? And I'm really interested to hear what you want you're going to say?
I think that, the first thing that I would say, I would try to extrapolate the financial aspect of crypto, which is what we tend to hear more about. I think I would try, and obviously this is a little bit more complex, but I would try to get them to look a little bit more at the technology and what's behind. I know that all this started with Bitcoin, but at the end of the day, this idea of decentralization, about how we think about finance and ownership, the transparency of the technology, the security of the technology, this aspect of being able to democratize the access to financial service without an intermediate. I think that has, a much more, I would say, much stronger messaging, this decentralized concept where there isn't an intermediate and where you can own your own digital assets. And I think, more and more people are living their lives digitally. So there has to be a new form of money that serves that as well. So I think I would try to get a little bit more philosophical and try to move away from the crime side of things. Because at the end of the day, most of the illicit activities, and there are lots of reports that help with that, there are lots of service providers that do AML, money laundering, and they study this specifically. Most of the illicit activities are just financed by cash, hard cold cash, not Bitcoin. So I think it's just a matter of trying to not focus on the negative aspect and try to highlight the positive one. But I would get them thinking about how this technology has the potential to revolutionize ownership.
I really love that. I love the fact that you said, to go on the more philosophical side of things, right? Instead of the, on the crypto or like focusing on the bad. And thank you, because this is what I'm going to tell my cousin. What's one big misunderstanding about crypto you think people will stop believing in the near future?
I think they already are convinced, or slowly getting convinced, that this isn't a passing trend. As I was saying before, this isn't going away. Some coins might not survive. Many projects might not survive due to lack of adoption, or due to the fact that perhaps they were not solving a problem in the first place, or maybe because of lack of funding, as we have seen. But I think what people will start believing is that this isn't going to disappear. It remains to be seen. Obviously, there is now a lot of focus on the new US president. And by the way, I think that whoever would have won in the election in the US would have provided a better ground for crypto in general. Perhaps things will accelerate a bit more with a new administration in the US, with the Republicans being a lot more pro-crypto and changing the head of the SEC and all that. Or, the Trump family getting behind crypto with their own investments as well. But I think that's the misconception that everything is just going to go away and disappear. It's something that people will start to think, well, actually, this doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And some countries have experimented with having crypto as legal tender, as we saw in El Salvador. Some countries have Bitcoin in their reserves as well, which is quite interesting as well. So yes, I think, if first world governments, for lack of a better word, are using digital assets as part of their national reserves, we can be certain that this isn't going to disappear.
Yes, it's not going anywhere at all. And, I do tell people this, right? Like, I think especially when there's so much fear. It's and because it's the unknown. I always say, like, you have to embrace it to shape it. Because then if you don't know and if you don't embrace it, how are you going to navigate, right? Because it's definitely not going to go away, and then and then you'll lose out, right? So yeah, and once trust issue is resolved, what do you think will be the next big challenge for the crypto industry?
Oh, the next big challenge, I think, once trust is resolved. And by the way, I don't think that the trust issue will ever go away, as it hasn't gone away in traditional finance. If you're investing in, let's say, more traditional assets, stocks or real estate or whatever, as you know, this isn't. I mean, there are different risk profiles for different type of investments in more sort of traditional assets. So I think the trust issue is not going to go away completely, as it will not go away for other investments. It's more about making sure that there is an investor protection. I think that the next big challenge, and this is something that I promise you people who are in the sector are sort of considering all the time, is scalability. Is how we're going to get more people into the system. How are we going to get more businesses to adopt crypto institutionally, as commercially, or maybe even as a loyalty program. I would love to have the answer where mass adoption is going to come from. Is Amazon going to put a wallet in our phones, and are they going to create their own token that we can buy and sell, that we can use to transact? Maybe that could be mass adoption. By the way, I have no idea if they're planning to do that, but PayPal experimented with crypto. You can buy and sell. They have their own stable coins. That has opened a lot more eyes into it. We know many big brands that have their loyalty programs as NFTs. Starbucks tried it with mild success. We have other on the art, on the creators side as well. Sotheby's has done virtual auctions for NFTs as well. They have a shop in the metaverse as well. So, we still need to see where mass adoption is going to come from, and it might not necessarily be on the financial side. It might well be a Web2 company. I was saying before, Amazon dropping a wallet on our phones, or it might be Coca-Cola creating collectibles for the next FIFA World Cup, or it might be an airline loyalty program doing everything on chain. And that would be for a different episode, I think. But if you can get your users' data on chain, if you get your consumers to earn loyalty points, stamps, however you're going to call them, on chain, and you can see how they interact with them, what they do with them, whether they share them, they store them, they sell them. That's a lot of information that you have on chain about your customers that obviously they allow you to view, and that suddenly becomes your CRM, and you can tailor them with better offers. So yeah, I think the future is very exciting, and we are just writing the playbook. I am old enough to have lived in a world without internet, but think about everyone who was born in the digital era. Again, there is no reason why money shouldn't be digital as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same as you. I've lived in a time where there's no internet, and I've seen how back in the day, even with the mobile phones, right, being super huge, and and actually, technology has moved so quickly, considering given that the time, right? But yeah, I also feel like, with mass adoption, that needs to be, it needs to be sustainable, because I feel like, sure, we could get mass adoption. And if everyone suddenly trickles out, they don't stay, then that's not good either, right? But Soledad, it's been such a pleasure. I really, really enjoyed your valuable perspective today.
It's been a pleasure for me. I'm delighted to have joined you today, and let's see what the future holds.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's definitely exciting, and yes, we'll definitely have another episode to unpack other stuff. And they come along.
Having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again for joining us, and thanks to everyone listening. We hope this conversation helped shed some light on the future of trust in crypto. If you found this episode helpful, feel free to share it with others and continue the conversation with us on our social media.